There we are. 3, 2, 1. Back in the room. So, the Piccadilly. Scene break. The Piccadilly. Mm-hmm. What is the Piccadilly?
The Piccadilly is a drama serial based around a theatre. The Piccadilly is itself the theatre, and it's set in different eras. So the idea originally came from reading a biography of one of the great actors of the Edwardian era, and I just thought, this was about 20 years ago, and I thought, wow, what a fantastic show that would be, or a movie at the time, because we weren't doing that much TV, and then over the years it's sort of, and then on the other side of things we were thinking about, well, you know, we've been seeing things on the news about theatres and cinemas that have been taken over by groups of volunteers and reinvented, and we've seen buildings, beautiful buildings over many decades kind of becoming different things, and the two worlds collided.
Yeah.
So it's essentially about the theatre itself, with a whole bunch of characters, and the theatre, each series, so you could take it over a number of series. So you could have series 1 set in a particular era, series 2 set 30 years later, and so on. So you show the progression of the theatre from being in its heyday to going through some changes in maybe the 60s to the 80s, where it becomes, I know, something like a bingo hall, and then when it's rejuvenated. So it's the life story of the theatre. So season 1 is set in 1910, and that was a very purposeful decision, because the usual sort of default is to go around the First World War, isn't it, and have things built around the First World War, whereas I wanted to do something slightly differently this time. So 1910, you had the death of King Edward, so you had a major monarch's funeral plus a coronation in there. We had the scaremongering of a meteor that was actually going to come the closest to Earth, I think memory serves, for the first time in 150 years, and that caused widespread panic. We had Dr. Crippen. So you've got those ideas up here. So
and this is all in 1910, isn't it?
In 1910, yes. You've got all of these ideas that sort of sit across the top, that provide the sort of the backdrop, if you will, to the theatre itself. And then in the theatre world, you've got the rise of the theatre manager, the actor managers, those big characters. You've got plays changing tack. So you've got George Bernard Shaw coming in, and the plays are getting much grittier, much more around working class matters and so on. Acting styles were changing. You had the moving pictures was developing, musical was becoming much bigger, so you had a drain on talent, so you couldn't keep your actors because, well, I can earn more money over there doing the Egyptian sand dance than I can doing various things here. So it's about that, the theatre itself.
But what you've got is a group of actors. You've got your main characters that come in, one particular female, one particular male, then you have the younger version of these people, then you have the ancillaries, as it were, the guy who runs off and buys the pies and brings them in, all of those kinds of people. Now the idea then is to, once a season's done of 1910, is to take it to the next generation, which could be 1960, there or thereabouts, but with the same group of actors playing a different group of people.
Now that would be amazing.
How nice
wouldn't
is
it?
that?
That would be very nice.
Bit like Colonel Blimp. His wife became his assistant during the war, and the same actor played all the way through. That would be great if that could be done, where you've got the same group of people, so the audience recognises the cast, but they're completely different people. A little bit, it reminds me of the Yellow Rolls Royce, the very famous movie. We followed the life of a Rolls Royce from its heyday through to its ramshackle second-handness, with different actors in it, some amazing actors in that movie. That very much reminds me of that, but I think if we were allowed to, of course, if we were allowed to keep the same actors and take them through, I think that would be, for the audience, that would be really nice. And from an actor's point of view, you know, you've got one gig. You're not in Downton for 10 years playing the same character. You're playing different characters.
Yes, And speaking of Downton, so you know the theatre itself replicates that upstairs downstairs nature, if you like, the front and the back. So you've got the front house where, as you say, you've got your actors. And then backstage, you've got your stage management. You've got we've got a cook in there who makes sure everybody's fed and all of that sort of thing. And you've got your apprentices and all of that sort of thing. So you've got those two distinct areas. So you've got all sorts of things to play with there. You know, we've got our cook in there. You know, she isn't quite who she appears to be. You know, who's on the run, who's hiding, who's this, who's that, who's the other. So there's lots and lots of So there's lots of dramas that you can pick out, not just from the fairly obvious ones of your leading lady and your leading man, but also of those at the back. And they get equal balance in it all.
As they rightly should.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop you there because we were aware of last time of me running on. So we're trying to keep these short. We're just shy of 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So going to call it a day there.
Yeah,
Stand up, switch it off, and then we'll talk about the next thing in the next one. See you soon. Don't walk into the microphone or the lights or anything.